it is time that we actually start working on our board, or better said, on our first tile. And already I have a bit of a problem, because I think my idea is not really going to work out. Now, this tile actually was supposed to feature the gatehouse, which we have here, facing the city wall, which would be on the other side of the tile. And all that would be connected via a bridge. However, I think this is not really working. So my basic problem is this. As you can see, my gatehouse is already taking a lot of real estate on the build, and that is in itself not the biggest problem. However, the problem becomes more apparent when we introduce the other building for this layout. Let's take this Warhammer box of goblins. And as you can see, this is getting a bit crowded, and not in a good way. I mean, we would have like a gaming area here on top as well, but the distance between both gatehouses in this particular layout would be way too small for my liking. And if we put this gatehouse and put it directly on the edge of the board, that would result, let me show you, in this area being completely, well, dead, so to speak. So I definitely want to have this gatehouse with a bit of distance from the board edge, which makes this wall, gate, whatever you want to call this, let's just say unhelpful. And therefore I am going to do something else. I decided to go with something like this. This is basically the same layout, only stretched out onto two tiles. We have the first tile, which will feature a gatehouse on a raised platform, and this gatehouse will connect via a bridge, but this bridge will cross, so to speak, to the next tile. But this one is for another time. So today we will concentrate on starting with this one. So as you can see, I'm using a honeycomb board for this, and this acts more or less like a protective shell for the EPS that provides the elevation that we actually need for this build. Now, of course, I could have simply gone with the EPS itself. However, I found honeycomb board is a very sturdy material, even sturdier than you might have guessed from basically simply glorified cardboard. It is also a very good material to glue stuff onto it, as the PVA I'm using really soaks into the material itself. So you can see I have a slight problem of the bridge not really being held in place, just like that. Easy solution to rectify that is to take the good old fixing tape. Just use it to temporarily keep the bridge in place until the glue is dry. As you might see, I made a little mistake here because I should have added a bit of elevation before I actually glue everything onto the place. The reason for that is simply because I want to have like a little, I don't know, maybe a river, a ditch, something that is more sunken in here. So we need to address that. I think the most easiest thing would be try to remove all of this. However, that is almost impossible right now. So we need to build around that. And for that, we are going to use our offcuts from the honeycomb board. So let's puzzle all that together. Now at this moment, most of the verticality comes from over here and the additional platforms on the building itself, but not really from this area. I want to add something like, I don't know, maybe pillars where your warbands can actually jump from point to point. But how I am going to achieve that is actually a bit tricky, because I don't want to use EPS for that, because EPS could break easily, but I want to use honeycomb bolt. However, honeycomb bolt itself is also not the most stable solution, especially when you cut it down into smaller pieces. So basically you want some stabilization on the top and on the bottom. And for that, I think I have a perfect solution. I have these hexagon tiles for a while now. I had a very specific use for them, because I wanted to use like a hexagon tile set for my Dungeons and Dragons games, until I realized this is way too much work. And now I'm at a point where I'm not quite sure what to do with that. But instead of simply throwing that away, I'm waiting for the perfect opportunity to use them again. And this project, I think, is where we can actually get to use them again. So why is verticality so important for games like this? Well, to be perfectly honest, verticality is what makes these games actually really fun. Especially if you like to push your enemies around. And that is where Necropolis really shines. I mean, if you hit an opponent's model, you can always push that miniature for 1 inch or maybe even 2 inches. And that can result to some very fun combinations, where you push the enemy off the ledge onto another enemy and then figure out what happens in the resulting chaos. And that makes these pillars so enticing for gameplay. Alright, now we have these pillars. They're still pretty much a work in progress, and they're not looking particularly good right now. I think with a bit of glue, a bit of toilet paper, and maybe even a bit of plaster, this will look pretty nice.